Welcome back. We are on part 4 of the shed build. I didn't do too much over the summer. I left it pretty much wrapped up, and the first thing I did was I bought some doors and windows. Now I didn't actually frame the doors and windows as I was building the shed initially because I just didn't know what I was going to be using. I was looking online for second hand basically, so whatever I could get, that was the dimension that I was going to have to frame afterwards. I picked up a second-hand door and window from a company called Green Doors. They've got a website, they've also got an eBay store as well. I got a really big door, which is really good for me because I'm always hitting my head on the top of doors in my house. So I wanted a really nice tall door, and I also got a near enough full length double glazed window as well. Both of these, including delivery, with the glass, was £700, which was a bargain, especially when you consider the size of this door, and you'll see the size of the glass. Alone, that door was about 1,000 to 1,200 new. So I got a really good deal, and I'm very happy with the service that I got from Green Doors. So I definitely recommend them. This is not affiliated in any way. I bought it all out of my own money. So I didn't frame anything until I literally took delivery of the doors because I did not trust the measurements that I was given. I just wanted to measure it myself in person so I can know exactly the size of the timber that I needed to frame, and also obviously the OSB that I needed to cut away from that external sheathing that I put up. Once I got it framed, I just pinned the breather membrane around the door frame, and then I'm using some flex wrap. This is quite expensive, but if you look on eBay, you can usually get spare rolls left over from people that are probably doing what I'm doing, which is built in a shed. They only literally need a few meters of this stuff, but the roll that you buy I think is like 10 or 20 meters. So what people end up doing is you end up using a little bit and then you sell it on, which is exactly what I did. I needed just over a meter of flex wrap for these bottom seals and the top seals. It's very, very easy to put on, peel it back and just stick it up, start in the middle and then just use your hands to spread it out across the seal. And this is my first time doing it. Overall, the process was very easy. So next it was time to install the doors and windows. Again, this is the first time I've done this, but thankfully the window didn't have glass in it. So it was a little bit easy to maneuver. You just need to make sure that you've got it plumb and level with a spirit level. And then I am just using some screws to drill through the PVC, through the aluminium frame of the window, and then into the wood. I'm just using packers as well to get it secure in position while I'm drilling it. Putting in the glass was a little bit more difficult. I was wondering what way I should put it in. And then as I finished installing it, right in front of me was a sticker that said this side out. So I had to take off the seals that go around the edge, turn it around and put it in again. I'm just using a hammer and a bit of wood just to knock in these trims. They really do require quite a bit of force to get in and out. This stuff is quite tough, so don't be afraid to give it quite a whack. I was afraid that I was going to crack the glass, but if you just got a bit of wood to push it in instead of using just a hammer directly, then you should be fine. Next, it was time to move the door. Now this is a bit of a beast of a door, and I used my partner to help me get it up and move it in position. But again, it's just the same process. You get it plumb, you get it level, you use packers to get it in position, and then you just use screws and fasten it into the timber frame. This was a little bit more difficult because I kept the glass in the door, because I knew that taking that pane of glass out the door would be very, very difficult to get it back in just by myself. Next, I'm putting on the fascia boards. If you remember, we did redo the roof. I did originally use 4x2s. It was a little bit flimsy, so I took it all down and I replaced it with 6x2s and also 2 flinch beams because I was putting in a skylight as well. So I'm putting on the fascia covers here. The front one that faces the house is the most important because that's the one you see all the time. I was using the poly nails to hammer in the fascia, and I got to the last one and I missed it and I put the hammer into the fascia. Now this stuff is really soft, and if you miss the nails, you'll ruin the fascia board. So I had to take it all off and I put that one on the back and then I did it again. I've just got anthracite fascia boards, and these are anthracite poly nails as well. So next it was time to do the EPDM roof. I got a large offcut from Permaroof eBay store, and then I bought the rest of the kit from their store, but I told them I don't need the rubber because I already bought that as an offcut, and it worked out a little bit cheaper. So have a look at the Permaroof eBay store. you can get some pretty decent size offcuts for quite a discount. This is my first time doing a EPDM roof, but it's pretty easy. All you need to do is roll out the rubber, you then roll out the glue, and then you brush the rubber down onto the glue. I didn't get any footage of this, unfortunately, because it was quite a warm day and the wind picked up, and as soon as I was brushing the glue onto the OSB sheets, it was drying really quickly, so I didn't have time to get everything set up. You use a water-based adhesive on the main area of the rubber, and then you use contact adhesive around the edges, which you can see in some of these pictures. So next was the skylight. This is an aluminium framed, triple glazed 600 by 900 skylight, and with delivery I got it for £400. Now, the aluminium frame and the triple glazing does mean it weighs quite a lot, and this was quite a ordeal to get this up onto my roof. What I ended up doing is I got a 40-kilogram kettlebell, I put it on the other end of the roof, attached it to a rope, and then I attached the skylight to a sack trolley, put the rope around the trolley, and then I pushed the trolley up the ladder using the 40 kilogram on the other end as a counterweight to help me to push it up, because I had no way I could push it up the ladder by myself. So this took me a few hours to get it all set up, and I was a little bit worried I was going to just drop and smash this thing on the floor, but it went okay. I got it up on the roof. So I'm just trimming the area away where the skylight goes, and then I've just built a very simple 2x4 upstand. And because my roof is at a 2-degree pitch, I didn't need to add any sort of additional angle to the upstand. This is just going straight into the OSB and into the timbers. And then next is finishing around the upstand. I'm using that contact adhesive to put the EPDM rubber up along the edges, and then I'm using corner flashing. This is uncured rubber, and you kind of mix it with some sort of adhesive, and it basically sticks to the rubber. So this again is quite a simple process. You can also just go along the edges and just fill it up with any sort of weather sealant as well, but this to me looks like it's going to be a pretty good fix. Fixing the skylight to the upstand, I just put some sealant around the edges and just dropped it in, and then it just screws in from the inside. So very simple. Next, it was time to do the external cladding. Now, because my cladding is vertical, I've got Red Western Cedar in a vertical orientation, I need to first of all do vertical battens, and then I can do horizontal battens. And the reason for that is that the horizontal battens, if you put them straight onto the OSB sheathing and then you put the cladding onto those battens, you are not allowing any air to pass between the external cladding and the breathing membrane. And you do want airflow through that to make sure that it stays dry. For the back of my shed, and also the side that is closest to the fence, which you're not really going to see, we opted for some metal cladding. I got this from Cladco, and it is a real pain in the ass to cut. I first of all tried some shears that attached to an impact driver, and that really did not do a very good job. In the end, I settled on a metal jigsaw blade in my jigsaw. The problem is that because of the geometry, it's very difficult to make sure that you're keeping the jigsaw in contact with the actual metal surface itself. So I really did not have a lot of fun cutting this, and honestly, the finish of it is terrible. So I'm really glad that this is at the back of the shed and the side that you're not going to see, because the top parts are just a little bit of a mess. It's a little bit difficult to hold it up by yourself and to get the screws in, but once you've got a few in, yeah, it's easy going. So we took delivery of the Red Western Cedar, and this was by far the most expensive part of the shed. I was really surprised at the cost of external cladding. But after we built the initial frame of the shed and we realized kind of like how big it is in the garden, it really does take up the whole back part of the garden. You can't really avoid it. We decided that we did want something that looks a little bit more naturey, so it kind of blends into the garden setting. So we opted for Red Western Cedar. It is pretty much one of the most expensive type of wood claddings that you can use, but it is supposedly one of the most durable. It can last up to 50 years. And seeing as my previous shed, which was built when I moved in, seeing the state of the wood on that shed, it's a really cheap shed and it just uses some really cheap cladding. I decided that I didn't really want to spend all this time building it, and then, you know, maybe like 10, 15 years down the line, it's kind of rotting and falling apart. I really do want this to last a long time because I plan to be in this house for a long time. So that's why we just thought, you know, invest in some good external cladding, and hopefully in the long run it will just protect the building, and it looks amazing and it smells amazing as well. So here I am just using some offcuts to do the soffit parts of underneath the roof, and I'm just using stainless steel brad nails. It's really important to use stainless steel, normal nails, they will rust and they will discolor the cedar. So it's really important to make sure you're using stainless steel. So this is a really simple process. Cut it to length and then just nail it in. And this was really enjoyable because, yeah, just working with the cedar, it smells really strong, really nice. It feels like you are walking in a kind of a forest, really. And the colors are absolutely beautiful. And it was really nice to just kind of like pick and try and get as much contrast between the different panes of cedar. And now it's time to stain it. And I'm just using some, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I'll put an image of the tin that I'm using. And this is just brushing it on, and I'll probably do this every single few years. This does stain it a little bit. It makes it a little bit darker, but it really does bring out the colors. This is the clear one. So I'm glad I went with clear because it did darken it quite a lot. But yeah, it does bring out the grain and the colors really nicely. So with that cedar, I completely blew over the budget what I was planning to spend on this shed. But it does look really nice. We've got the externals pretty much done now. All I need to do is put on some corner flashings, and I may put up some guttering just to collect the rainwater into a water bucket. And then I just need to finish up the trims around the door and around the top where the cladding meets the soffit part of the roof. And that's pretty much it for the externals. And then next is going to be working on the internal sheathing. I was undecided whether I was going to go plasterboard or OSB or plywood, and I've decided to go with plywood. I think that's probably going to give me the best strength, and I don't have to worry then about, you know, where I'm putting things on the wall. I can just fix anything to the wall wherever I need it. I don't need to worry about studs. So I'm going with 18mm plywood for the internal walls, and then I'm going to go with 12mm plywood for the roof. I do plan on using a Unistrut, some sort of like ceiling system to mount things. So that's why I'm going with a plywood roof as well. So this has been a very, very long build, but we are near the end and I'm really excited to start thinking about what actually goes inside of it. So stay tuned for the next video in this series. We'll be doing the internals and we'll just finish up a few little bits and bobs on the outside of the shed, and then I can kind of give you a tour of it all finished, hopefully. So thank you for watching. That is it for today. I will catch you all later.